with Republican Congressman Neil Dunn, whose district is in the panhandle of the state. Representative Dunn is a U.S. Army veteran and a surgeon who was elected to the House 4 years ago now. So, Mr. Congressman, thank you very much for your patience. I know we had a little technical difficulty there. Thanks for being here. Give us your sense from the panhandle, a different part of the state than, for example, Miami, how this election is looking.
Well, so it's very, very conservative swath of the state up here. Typically statewide elections in Florida are won. Republicans win up here in North Florida, and so what we see is very favorable. Our farmers are suffering, unfortunately, not so much from the pandemic, but from weather. We've had so much rain that a lot of our crops have been unable to harvest. And while we have some great markets for soybeans, China's buying more soybeans than they ever have before, tough to get them out of the mud and deliver it. So there's some, put that, the quarantine on top of Hurricane Michael, which hit us a couple of years ago. And it's been kind of a rough season for them.
Yeah, just missing some locusts and some pestilence down there as a practical matter. But give us a sense of what the issues are that are important to your voters in your district. What are they going to vote on, number one issue?
I think unequivocally they're going to vote on the economy, number one. Everybody wants to see the economy come back. We were doing really well this time last year, and now we're struggling nationwide. In fact, globally, we're struggling with the economy. So, that's number one. Obviously, people are upset about the fact that they're locked down with the virus. I think I have some good news on that, though. You mentioned I was a doctor earlier, so I've spent a lot of time with Operation Warp Speed, and I think there's some very good news coming out of that. Not only the vaccines, but the therapeutics. In fact, this week, Operation Warp Speed is reviewing no less than 3 legacy drugs that show great promise as true virucidal. Just like antibiotics, these would be antiviral drugs, and they're legacy drugs that we understand the safety of and the profile, the therapeutic profile of them, because they're used for other things. So I think we're going to get some really good news on that soon. And the other thing we need to do is focus on who needs to be quarantined. Obviously, those who are infected, those who are infectious, and the people at risk. That's the elderly and the immune compromised.
Yeah, well, exactly. Talk about the elderly, the seniors, as it were, because we've seen some reports now out of Florida where you have a fairly substantial senior population that people may be turning against President Trump because they don't like very much the way he handled COVID-19. Are you seeing that in your district?
Not at all, really. So, I mean, to be honest, they talk about did he play down the virus? They teach us in medical school to tamp down panic, not to stoke panic in an epidemic. And I was in the Army and treated a lot of epidemic diseases broke out specifically in refugee camps, cholera and things like that. Panic doesn't serve anybody. We need to think our way through that. And I think we have some good answers for it. And we're getting a lot better at treating it. You watch the mortality rate of this disease drops precipitously in the last few months as the doctors have gotten a better handle on how to treat it.
Yeah. Congressman, I'll end with an unfair question. Are we going to have an answer about who won in Florida before we go home on the evening or the late night, overnight of November 3rd?
So I think Florida is actually going to be an exceptionally good state for you. Now, I think we've kind of got the supervisors of elections under control, and we've had a long-standing absentee ballot program in the mail, so we know how to process those things. I think that Florida is going to be a shining spot on the evening of November 3rd. I'm not so sure about some other states. We've seen some really sad results in the primary in New York, New Jersey, some other places.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, no question about it. Thank you so much once again for your patience, Congressman. That's Congressman Neil Dunn. He's Republican.